Okay, Mum. Next chapter of your life.
Well, Kath, we can't remember what we said last time, so I'll go from when we got married for those few years with the family. So Dad and I got married at St Mary's, South Mackay, in those days with the nuptial mass, and I went in as a child of Mary, which you don't ever hear of today, and had a guard of honour as child of Mary. We then...
So what does that mean, Mum?
Well, it was a big sodality. There were sodalities in those days. The small children went to school were guardian angels, and they wore a little red coat. Once a month you went to church all together as a group. So the children then, as you got to a teenager, you became an aspirant, and that was just a veil and that, and then as you got that bit older, 17, 18 and that, you became a child of Mary, and that was once a month you all went to church together and sat together. And so in one of my photos that I've just found again recently, all the children of Mary, or some of them that I was in with, formed a guard of honour outside the church when after I was married. So
when you say you're a child of Mary, that was through school though? That was during
well, it was mainly once you'd left school, and then, in those days, things in the church, there were a lot of things. There was what they called the Sacred Heart Sodality, where all the women of the church, if they wanted to, went to church together on a Sunday, sat together. There was the Holy Name. All the men went together on a Sunday and sat together. And then there was, I can't think of anything for the boys, but for the girls, there was the three lots of things.
I guess you had all girls in your family, so you knew what happened with the girls.
Yeah, we were all involved in all that sort of stuff. Well, so then after the wedding, we had our reception at what was the Harbour Lights, and we did have a lot of people at that time.
So that's on the Mackay Harbour there?
Mackay Harbour.
Near where the crocodile is and that sort of thing?
Yeah, the Harbour Lights Cafe was just down the road from the crocodile.
Okay, the park,
but it would be very, very different now.
Yes.
But it did have the crocodile. Well then, after we got married, there was this older lady. She wanted to go away on a holiday for a few months. So she wanted to rent out her place. So Dad and I rented out her house in Hucker Street. And
this was in 1964, so you got married on the 4th of January.
1964.
Yep.
The Dailies that lived beside us, they used to also go to school with some of us, and Auntie Pat McClafferty, that we all know, who was very fond of John Daly. And just in latter years, his last couple of years, James Daly, who'd be, I think he'd be 10 years at least younger than me, he contacted Auntie Brenda and myself, and he's come here since I've been here and visited us.
So he was the son of the...
He was the son of our neighbours sort of thing, of the Dailies. Dad used to work on the railway with his father.
Okay.
So then we were in that house for a few months, and then she came back. So we went then to live in Wellington Street. And that was before Michael was born in the October. And Dad's brother, Uncle Les, had died, I think, in the July. I might be wrong with the date there, before Michael was born, and he was the last surviving member. So Dad was left the old Park Road house.
In Brisbane.
Brisbane. So then they decided that they would sell Wellington Street. Well, because we were there, Dad and I bought...
So it was logical for you to buy the house.
Yeah, we bought Wellington Street and stayed on, and they went to Brisbane.
So did you, when you moved back, did you live with them for a little while, did you?
Yeah, just for a couple of months, but they were mainly in Brisbane. But they come back up for Michael's birth, so that they were there. Then they went back to Brisbane and lived. So
just on that, actually, do you remember their feeling? Was Michael their first?
Michael was their first, yeah. And
so what was their? Do you remember their response to that and their reaction to having?
Of course, they loved it, and because Dad was from a family of boys, but then he had only girls. So Michael, being a boy, was something sort of special. And I can remember Dad had a very hoppy leg because he should have had a hip replacement like we all do today. Him pushing Michael around in that old grey pram round. We had a big yard in Wellington Street, pushing him round in the pram and so forth. Then that was all right. Then they went to Brisbane, and we came down then in the April, I think, and Auntie Carmel was getting married, and I was one of her bridesmaids, and Auntie Brenda was still overseas.
Do you mean you came to Brisbane?
We came to Brisbane. Getting back to that, Auntie Brenda was waiting for Michael to be born, and I'd gone into hospital, but she had to leave because she was going to Brisbane to get on a boat to go to England. So she wasn't there for when Michael was born.
Yeah, she has mentioned that a few times actually.
But then, as I said, in that April, so we went down to Brisbane, and we've got a great photo, and Michael might have it, propped up on the front veranda of the Dempsey's place, and I don't know who gave it to him. He had a big bottle of beer. He must have been born in the October, and this was the April, so that's how old he was.
6 months or so.
Yeah, so we saw.
So that was who had given him the beer?
Well, I don't know who gave him the beer because all Dad's brothers were dead, and Dad didn't drink. So I don't know. It might have been Uncle Jimmy Olsen might have come in.
Or was it Dad? My dad.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Your dad. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then, so after the wedding and so forth, we went back to Mackay. That was.
So the Auntie Carmel's wedding was in the April.
That was 65.
Right.
Then in 66, then Anne was born, and one thing we'll always credit Anne with, we went to Auntie Lexi and Kerry's wedding at Caboolture, and Owie, Jimmy's mother, was with us, and she had a very lightish colour dress on, and she was nursing Anne. As Anne would have been, Anne probably a couple of months old, and Anne disgraced herself and didn't have any. We must have had pilchers on her, and poor old Owie on her nice dress got a nice big stain. We'll always remember you, Anne, with Owie there. So that was in about. Anne was born in March, so that April or May, something like that, was the wedding. Well, then.
And where was that wedding?
That was at Caboolture, somewhere up that way.
Okay.
Because that's where Auntie Lexi's parents.
Oh, that's right. They were on a farm.
Farm.
She has said that. Yeah.
Then, it was after that. I don't know whether Mum and Dad came up to us again in Mackay. Then at the December, a bit before December, November, Dad, my father, took a bad heart turn and was put into PA. In today's world, he would have probably been saved, but in those days, it was what they called a coronary occlusion. I can always remember that.
Right.
And I came down, Auntie Kit Bowes minded Michael and Anne, which was a big thing for her, because Michael would have been just 2 and Anne was, 9 months or something.
That would have been massive, actually.
So then...
Because she was on her own at that point too, wasn't she?
So when Dad seemed to be improving, so I came back to Mackay. And then he didn't come out of hospital, so I brought Michael and Anne down on the plane. Dad was still teaching, down on the plane. And I always remember that it was Ansett in those days, and I had nursing a baby and a little one beside me, and they bring me in a hot cup of thing, and nobody helped. And I don't know whether it was Auntie Lynn, I think, reported it.
Wow.
Because they weren't very nice to me with 2 young babies.
That is terrible, isn't it?
She said they could have...
well, it's different today, generally, on those.
So, then, of course, Dad didn't get over it.
So how long, when you came back, you said you...
I was only there a couple of weeks, and he died on the 11th.
Who helped you look after
Michael? We stayed at their place, so there was Mum and my mother. Mama was still there.
Mama, anyone else there with you? Or
well, what's her name?
Auntie
Lynn and Uncle Peter. I can remember them staying with us because they had the big old house. It's still there, and what has it got in the roof? What's the birds that get in the roof? Not little ones, sparrows. And sparrows had built all these nests, and then they had all these itchy things come down and into the bed. And Uncle Peter and Auntie Lynn got the itchy things, got bitten, and all had to go. We even had to take them to, I don't know, Michael, after Dad, I think, the day that Dad was my father was getting buried because these...
what had to take them where?
To the doctor. because the sparrow lice had bitten them so much. Sparrows are terrible.
So
this was in
this is at the Park Road
Park
house.
Road, in the old house, and they built up in the eaves and that of the wooden house, and all their nests, and you didn't see them. And obviously they come down the walls and come into the beds. And after that, we went back to Mackay. After the end of the Christmas holidays.
Popper's funeral, just to clarify that Auntie Lynn and Uncle Peter might have helped you look after Michael and Anne at that point.
Yeah.
And they came and stayed at Popper's house.
Yes, I'm really sure they did for a little bit,
and possibly helped you there. And did Auntie Carmel come to Popper's funeral?
Yeah, Auntie Carmel came, but Auntie Brenda,
she was in England.
She was in England.
So that would have been
so Auntie Carmel, they had Claire then, because Claire was just a bit older than Anne.
Yes.
So of course they come up too.
So Claire would have been with them too.
Yes,
so
and I'm not sure whether they stayed at the old Dempsey house or not. I'm not quite sure where they stayed now.
Okay.
And,
so he died, which you sort of were expecting then at that point, Popper to pass. You were expecting
well, we did it
that?
after the while, but we hadn't at the start. But because he was 66.
Did you get the chance to sort of say goodbye to him?
Yes, you did.
You had a chance to talk to him knowing that he was going? Or?
Oh, well, you did. You sort of knew that he wasn't getting better, so But I always felt so sad because you all loved Mama and you would have loved Dad equally as much. He was a brilliant maths person. He also wrote marvellous compositions, which he'd help us out with, and he was a real family man. Loved football. It was just a shame he didn't have a son to football with him. And Dad was as punctual. He had worked the 3 shifts, 8 o'clock till 4, 4 till midnight till 8. And he would leave home at 20 to that time, every time, to ride his bike. Very
there
punctual.
you go, Michael and Anne. That's where that side's come from.
Oh yeah, yes. He was very punctual. Very good church goer. So we grew up luckily, and as I said, then he died. Well, after that, we went back to Mackay, of course, and lived our life. Then you come along in the November of '68. Which we didn't know whether you were ours because you had such black hair and you had a bit more of an Asian
Yes,
eyes.
I remember you always joked that it was might have been the Asian ladies in the next bed.
And that was a blessing. And then later on, Chris, in he would have been about 20 months younger than you, I think. Or might be 20, 21, something like that. And which was lovely. So then we had 2 of each. But then we thought we better so what have we struck? We got you, Dad.
No, why didn't you stop at 4, Mum?
And Dad, I can always remember we were at Youngler on the
I wouldn't have had to
Boxing
share
Day.
a room. I can't believe it.
No, we were up at Youngler on a picnic, and it must have been Boxing Day, and then you were born on the 28th. Luckily you weren't born up at Youngler. So that consisted of our family. You all then started to go to school at St Mary's, South Mackay, then to which Dad and I were heavily involved with the setting up of, it was bingo, which...
I can remember that actually. Yes. That was every Friday night, wasn't it?
Every Friday night, and we would have to shift all these other people, have to shift all the school desks and that from a couple of rooms.
I can remember it.
And we were involved in the bingo a lot. I eventually got involved in the tuck shops. When Michael then, when he went into grade 5, he went up to the brothers, and I went into the tuck shop up there.
So you did the tuck shop at the OLMC, the high school for St Mary's, which I think we were allowed up one day a week.
You were allowed to go over, We didn't have a tuck shop at St Mary's itself, no.
And then you did the brothers. So did you do them one day a week for both or something?
No, I have a feeling they might have only been once a month.
Right.
I think that's what it was in Badesset, once a month. And then Dad decided he did put in for a couple of deputy principals. He would have liked to have gone out to Maureen, where it was the for outdoor activities, which I don't know if it's still today out there, but he didn't get that. So
Just let us know where he was working, Mum.
Well, he
throughout
was
his time
working
in Mackay.
for a lot of the time at the Mackay State High School, which was just around the corner from us.
So what years would he have... So when he first came to Mackay, give us his work history.
Well, he came to Mackay, he was a primary teacher, and then about 1960, for some reason or other, the government, I think it was when perhaps grade 8 came into being scholarship, or came into being high school, and they needed a lot more high school teachers. So I think primary teachers were given the opportunity to become high school teachers, which Dad did. And his first posting was as a high school teacher was at Longreach, and then for some reason he got Mackay.
After Longreach.
Yeah, and he got Mackay.
Do you know the years of that? Do you know the...
Well, he
right
came to
timing?
Mackay. We were married in 64. Must have met him in 62, so he must have come to Mackay at the beginning of 62.
Okay. And it was at Longreach for a year or two before that?
Well, I don't know how long he was.
Yeah.
Probably only a year or two, because he had been a primary teacher before that.
Okay, so around...
Round Brisbane, and he'd also been out at Hewenden as a primary teacher. Lota, down Wynnum Way, he was a primary teacher, and he and Uncle Peter both taught together at Inala, which was unusual. Then after in Mackay, he put in for a subject master at the newly high school at...
North Mackay.
No, he taught at North Mackay after... that's where he went as subject master at North Mackay High School.
So he was at Mackay State High
School,
first.
yeah, and then he went... Then they opened a new school at North Mackay High School.
And what year did he go to?
Well, he did all up to grade 12.
But what year did he start teaching there?
Oh, Kath, you've got me there.
That's all right. Because I think I remember him moving there, so it's obviously when I was a significant age.
Yeah, no, I can't.
That's okay.
He was there a few years.